of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Moines County Board of Supervisors meeting on October the 21st, 2025. Is there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. We can move on. Meet with the department heads and elected officials. There goes county auditor.
Good morning. Several irons in the fire at the moment, but just trying to get election stuff loaded on the machines, and absentee voting going on in the office currently from 8 to 4:30 until the 3rd. And then on the 4th, you'll vote at your polling location. So other than that, just keep them busy.
Okay, thank you. Lisa Schaefer, county attorney.
I was out of the office for a couple of days for vacation, but before that we went to a job expo. I went to a job expo at the College of Law in Iowa City on Thursday. Met a lot of potentially good interns, and a handful of graduating students will be graduating in May of 2026, so I'm hoping maybe something will pan out. But a lot of L1s and L2s really trying to play up the intern program, because I think sometimes when we get people in doing the job, that makes them more amenable to taking that on as a career once they know what it's like. So hoping we can get one to catch the bug next summer. Otherwise, we're just staying busy.
Okay, thank you. Brandon, how's the IT department?
Just keep them busy. Nothing new to report.
Nothing new. Sheriff Landanning, how's the sheriff's department?
Good morning. Busy as everybody else is. Lots of meetings, lots of planning going on, it feels like right now. Our jail this morning was at 84 adults, one juvenile out of county, and we had 11 adults out of county. We have 4 going to Oakdale today for prison, and then just 2 on the wait list after that are going to the residential facility. But we'll see how court service day went yesterday and see what happens with that list. But should be able to get that out of county down, but we'll see how the day goes.
Thank you. Shannon, emergency manager?
Good morning. I just returned from the Homeland Security and Emergency Management Conference up in Ankeny. Brought home some good ideas and good conversation from other emergency management coordinators from across the state. The other kind of fire that we have going right now is the hazard mitigation plan is tying up. We have the final things going on, so that will come to the board at some point soon, just to get approval. But other than that, just busy as everyone else.
Okay, thank you. Rodney Gleason, maintenance?
Good morning, just really busy, got a lot of stuff going on. Still have a job opening posted, so if anybody knows anybody, please have them go to the county website, fill out an application and send it in. So, other than that, nothing new to report. Thank you.
Okay. Chris Poggemiller, public health.
Good morning. Like everyone else, we're keeping busy. It's flu shot season, so we've been giving lots of those. We do have an additional clinic again this week on the 23rd. Along with our regular immunization days, which is Tuesdays from 8:30 to 4. On Thursday, which is the 23rd, we'll do from 10 to 2 flu shots at our office as well. Walk-ins are welcome. We did have the Board of Health meeting last week, discussed the wind turbines, also talked about the immunization clinics and how we're doing outreach for those, as well as the community outreach and education. And they also discussed there's been some funding changes through the state, so for our local public health grants, and so made some changes to that. Our revenue will stay the same, expenses will be the same, it's just the way that the line items that they'll fall into. So that was the Board of Health meeting.
Okay, thank you. Jared Laff, regional planning.
Same as everybody else, land use has been pretty busy. I still had new inquiries about subdivisions, zoning, etc. Over the past few weeks, so just keeping busy with that. Got one agenda item today, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Natalie, reporter's office.
Good morning. Passports, we have seen an uptick in passports. Even with the government shutdown, it doesn't seem like those have been affected. They are still taking just 3 to 4 weeks. But we have seen an uptick in that, and just working on our back indexing is what we do every day. And real estate recordings have been up a little bit compared to this time last year. So everything's going well in the recorder's office.
Okay, thank you. Brent, do you have anything to add to county attorney?
No, I mean, I'm here for the sale of the building up there. Some of the publications had 2026, so we'll talk about it when we come to it.
Thanks, Brent. Good to see you back there. Who's behind Kathy? Okay, thank you.
Angie's back.
Oh, Angie back there. Holy cow.
You can't forgive me.
I almost did.
Good morning. Actually, I don't have a whole lot to share, just keeping busy, kind of doing the same thing, but, not a whole lot new to share.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carter, secondary roads.
Good morning. Certainly plenty of stuff going on, a number of different directions, but, we do have Northfield Road closing this morning. We did send out a press release, probably closed for a couple of days. We have a deep culvert there that we've been waiting to work on, but, that leads into the next thing I want to mention, that 260th Street, I guess call it the far north gravel road east off of 61, that's been closed by the DOT for quite some time. Opened up last week, I want to say. We did send out a press release on that too, even though it was an opening and it's not our project. That does impact a lot of people, so we wanted to let that out there also to make sure emergency response were aware that they could come in that way. So it looks a lot different, but I think it writes pretty good. So that allowed us to go ahead and work on this culvert project because it's no longer, Northfield doesn't have to be a detour road basically for people up in that area. So just keep on moving and getting things done.
Does that 260 still come out on top of that hill or in the middle of the hill?
Yeah, well, the new intersection, we'll call it, is in the middle of the hill essentially. And then that will close again next summer, albeit I'm pushing for a much more limited closure. When I say limited, I think that thing's been closed almost on and off 2 years except for winter. And I'm pushing to keep it to under 3 months next year for paving. So that'll be paved, and they will pave west from what the new 4-lane is, over to the existing, what will be the old highway, or however you want to look at that. Because once that's all said and done, Des Moines County and Louisa County will take over the old highway. We'll end up with about 2 miles on our side, and then of course Louisa County will pick up the section that runs all the way up to the Newport Junction area. So that'll all get paved over and connect into the existing highway, and that highway stays in place. So it's, like I said, it's a lot different than it was, but it's good to have that road back open. That's a pretty major connection. I was frustrated that it stayed closed as long as it did.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Yep.
I didn't miss anybody, so we shall move on to correspondence. Anybody have any correspondence?
I have none.
I have none.
Oh, I thought you was looking for correspondence.
No, I was just gonna double check just to make sure, but it was a correspondence, but it didn't need to be read, so, we're good.
That's the one I had too. So, okay, move on to discussion and vote. Accounts payable claims in the amount of $1,307,537.40.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Roker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Okay, we have a letter of support for the Great River Housing Trust Fund. Okay, Des Moines County is a member of the Great River Housing Trust Fund and supports its efforts to sustain a viable housing program. The Board of Supervisors recognize the need for housing for low to moderate income households in the county. The trust fund is established in 2011, and Des Moines County has contributed toward the local match requirement every year, including the 2026 grant. The contributions have increased to $12,500 from $10,000 due to more local match needed.
Motion to approve the letter.
I'll second that.
Sarah?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Sarah, after that's signed, you'll need to send a copy of that to Sarah. You guys have to use the name of the Southeast Outreach.
Perfect.
Okay, moving on, we have resolution 2025-54. I'll turn this over to you, Jared.
It's Hillside Acres subdivision. Surprised that name was still available, but won't be now. So this is a 2-lot subdivision in the north or east central part of the county off of 75th Avenue. Actually includes 2 non-contiguous lots on either side of a 40-acre property that's being split off from. There had been 1 lot previously split off from that same property just south of lot 1 that already had a house on it. And it sounds like in each case here it would be for potentially the construction of a home sold to someone else. So lot 1 is about 4 acres just north of that existing residential property, and lot 2 is it's just under 2 acres in the northeast corner of the property. It's kind of a wooded area, but the rest of it is pretty much all farmland at this point. No major concerns were brought up. The secondary roads noted that they would have, lot 1 would need to use its existing entrance, and lot 2, there's an entrance slightly west of the property on the farm tract that an easement has been provided for access there because of sight distance going around a curve in the road, and so that had already been planned as their access point for lot 2. So the only thing I have on the resolution is the standard condition about making sure that the septic system is permitted prior to construction and installed before they move in. So assuming these do get developed for homes. So with that, recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. We'll find these others after the meeting. Okay,
Thank you.
We'll get the original signed here first. Okay, now we have the medical director for the EMT, Des Moines County Services contract here. What's your wishes on this?
Well, this is the gentleman, or the doctor that came the other day for director of the EMT, and as I indicated that day, I'm in favor of giving you the $2,500. So,
Yep.
motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. think that's money well spent. He will be training some of them. Our personnel actions, we have one for the emergency management. That's for Shannon. Roto. It's a 24-month step increase from $70,451.35 to $77,867.28.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sir?
Shane McCampbell.
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. In 2 years going fast, Shannon.
Yeah.
I have two here for the county attorney. We'll do these together. First one is for Mandy Spencer, Administrative Assistant Office Manager. Her salary will be $51,875 a year, and she starts 10/27/25. And the second one is for Daniel Cassidy, Records Legal Assistant, and it's a 24-month step increase. Previous rate was $40,967.85. New rate is $41,942.59.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Now we have two for local health. For Wendy Noble, first one is 8 hours unpaid on 10/13. And the second one is for Wendy Noble, resignation effective 10/14 of 2025.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Hey,
What do you got there?
I need this back. Thank you.
You know, I'm quick to steal your. Steal it on.
Now we have, reports. These reports will be on file in the auditor's office for viewing at your own discretion. First one is the Dewey Buyer Trust Fund report, and the second one is sheriff's report for fees collected in September. These will be on file in the auditor's office for viewing at your own discretion. Now we have the minutes for the regular meeting on October 14th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Okay, now we have, bid opening, 522 North Third Street, Burlington, Iowa, which was a former, public health building, and due to a mistake, it says when the notice of the bidders regarding the sale of the old public health building was forwarded for publication, it included a minor error, not area. The dates were listed as October 2026 instead of October of 2025. When the error was discovered, the county emailed the news organization requesting the date to be corrected before publication. Unfortunately, not all of the notices were corrected. On the advice of the attorney, we will republish the bid notice and extend the bid deadline. Bids will be accepted through Monday, October 27th at 4:30. The bids will be opened at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, October 28th at 9 a.m.
Covered.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And when I put the document together, I put down the 2026, that was my error. We caught it, and Sarah got it fixed before we sent it on the top, but then we noticed, wait, not in the middle, and so we emailed, and anyways, two of the publications went out as 2026. So this way, everybody knows, there's no question. Bids are due, they'll be due now Monday. We can hold on to the bid we received, but this way everybody knows.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other business? I have none. Future agenda items? Work session. Committee reports.
I have none.
I missed one, didn't I, Krista? Sorry
It
about
happens.
that. Okay, now we have, public input. If anybody wants to call in, 319-753-8203, extension 4. Or email board@dmcounty.com. We'll give you 2 minutes to do that. So meanwhile, anybody in the audience have anything to say? And Charlie's got a hand up.
Yes, I had a question for the meeting coming up next. Will the public be able to speak, or will I be able to speak at this next meeting?
No.
No, okay, now, then I want to bring up at this meeting that there's an endangered species of bats. You know are very well of that, or should be. And I come up with a lot of new information that these bats don't have a chance against these windmills. These windmills are 650 feet tall at the top of the tip. That gives it a 575-foot radius. And the speed of that blade is going to be 414 mile an hour at just a slow 20 RPM. Now, a bat works on sonar. Sonar is when they speak, they give out, sometimes we hear it, sometimes it's inaudible. And in their little brains, they're the mammals, they're the fastest mammals of all the mammals. There have been bats that could fly 100 miles an hour. Well, 99.4 is the record. Now, if that sonar works, it works in air. The speed of air is 761 miles an hour. The bat has to give out this sonar. It's not radar, it's sonar, this little beep, and wait for it to come back. That's half that distance of the 761 I told you about. And that's in the 380 range. This windmill's coming around at 410 mile an hour. And the bat doesn't get the signal at all. There's not time for it to get the sonar back to them. The bat in their brain can create a picture. That's why they can fly at night. Of their surroundings. So they're gonna get whacked. That's one thing. Another thing is the vortices off of the wingtips. These are huge. And I told you earlier, I testified that I almost got flipped in my airplane. Well, there's a lot of incidents where planes have been flipped upside down. Small, from these, just from the vortices coming off these wingtips. It's a big deal. And this windmill is not gonna have 2 wings, it's gonna have 3 wings, where these vortices are continually going around, and the killing field goes for, I mean, a long way. And it affects the big planes also. Along those lines, and a bat can only have 1 baby. Their gestation period is 4 to 7 months. Our bats here hibernate over the winter. They shut everything down. They run on 2%. They shut their heart rate down. They shut their breathing down. They are mammals. They're the only flying mammals. And they're gonna become extinct, and these windmills are gonna be killers, I predict. And I think that this board should take that under consideration. Do we wanna be the killers or a process of these bats becoming extinct?
Name and address.
You wanna give your name and address for the
Yeah,
newspaper?
Charles Tonkinson, South Yarmouth.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Allison Moore, near Yarmouth. I have a question for the Board of Health. Will you be giving like a formal recommendation about your wind turbine discussion to the board?
So the Board of Health, when they meet in November, are going to ask, so they're looking at subcontracting compliance for the wind and solar ordinance to Russ, Rural Utility Service. And so we've asked them to attend the meeting. I know that they currently oversee that in Louisa County. So we're asking them to come and be part of those recommendations. If they choose to give recommendations, it'll be decided at that board meeting.
Okay, the 2 minutes is up, so with an eye, we're out of here.
All right.
We'll be back for a work session with, regional planning here in about 10 minutes.
10 o'clock. It's on the agenda, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Oh, it is. Yeah, we'll be back here at 10 o'clock. The workstation, Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, this will be a workstation only, no questions and answers. Thank you. Turn this over to you, Zach, Jared.
Oh, yeah, I'll let Jared, he talked to Chris last week, I was out of the office, and he's made a few updates, and
I don't think Chris is gonna be able to make it.
he's not gonna make it all, okay.
Chris,
I knew he might be late potentially, but I didn't know.
Okay, so this is largely in response to some comments that had been submitted by the Conservation Board a couple of weeks ago regarding a meeting that was had to discuss the wind and solar battery ordinance regarding the conservation impacts, specifically Article 11, the wildlife monitoring and mitigation. So there had been a previous work session on that same topic. And we've already made some changes following that initial work session. And then these additional changes, we had reviewed those and we have a couple of modifications as a result of that. But there were a couple of concerns regarding the specifics of setbacks concerning conservation sites. And so that's why we thought it'd be a good idea to discuss the work session here, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
what page are you gonna be on, Jared?
What?
What page are you on?
I haven't started yet.
Oh, okay.
So, do we want to just go through all the latest changes from the last work session, or do we want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Start on first page.
So page 43, under section B, the first change, this was, I'll note which ones were related to the most recent comments. So this one is not. This is based on the work session. The previous language said that the project will not have a substantial negative impact on wildlife. There were concerns of that being too generic, and so it now states that it will not negatively impact the long-term sustainability of wildlife populations in Des Moines County. And then it lists the specific types there, so it's not just related to any impact whatsoever. It's will that particular species be able to thrive in the county long term, and specifically in Des Moines County, not just as a whole, wherever they may be located. And so that's kind of a running theme in some of these other modifications here, just so it's clear that this is long-term sustainability. What impact is strong enough that it would potentially harm that long-term sustainability, and that's what we're getting at, making sure that if that's the case, then there would need to be mitigation strategies of some kind. So moving on down to number 2 under section B, there was already a section in there stating that there would need to be documentation of consultation with the County Conservation Board as well as state and federal conservation agencies identified there regarding any endangered species. And then, so the added section here states, such documentation shall include any specific recommendations from the aforementioned entities regarding proximity between the project site and relevant wildlife habitat sites, with examples being the Mississippi Flyway, active and non-active bald eagle nests, riparian corridors, and maternity foraging and roosting habitats for endangered bats.
Hold on, Steve, where you at?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's page 43, section D.
2A.
B2.
Number B2A. You're right again, Jeff.
I don't hear that often, so thank you.
Revel in it.
So the latest recommendations from the Conservation Board were that there would be specific setbacks. I believe it was 10 miles from the river, 3 miles from bat habitats, and then there was 5 miles from eagle nests. So that was based on some particular feedback that they had gotten in researching that topic. It sounds like there's been differing accounts of that regarding what that would specifically need to be in those situations. So the concern is that we have specific setbacks from each of those individual types of conservation sites that would effectively create a situation where the the majority of the county would be completely off limits to development, and then that would essentially be construed as a form of zoning, wherein if the county has not adopted a zoning ordinance that covers all uses, commercial, industrial, et cetera, throughout the county, that if we're restricting wind turbines to just a couple of small areas, that could potentially cause a legal issue in the future if we're selectively regulating one thing or another, whether or not the term zoning is specifically used. And so that's why all along the intent of this chapter has been to rely on the guidance of the conservation entities, that they do their research early in the planning stages of the project to identify what potential sensitive environmental sites there may be, and if necessary, what kind of mitigation strategies could allow that to proceed at that location. And so the idea here was to add those specific, add those references to the types of environments we're looking at, the Mississippi River, the eagle nests, and the bat habitat, just as a general disclaimer, basically, of these are the types of areas we're looking at that may come under scrutiny and during that review with the conservation entities. So, are we going to keep moving on?
Yeah.
So, section 3B3, it specifically changed. It said that the components of a CWES, CSES, etc., would not negatively impact the wildlife species. That based on a comment at the previous work session, that was suggested that this be changed to the operations of, as opposed to, because the components refers to the physical parts, whereas operations essentially means once they're actually functioning. So it makes more sense to reference the operations rather than they're just sitting there unused. And then once again, it references the long-term sustainability as what we're concerned about here, and then also added one particular piece of federal legislation in there. It already referenced the Endangered Species Act and Bald Eagle Protection Act. It now cites the Migratory Bird Treaty Act as well. Those are the three that are the primary focus of any federal regulations that will impact this type of development. Moving on to number B5, it says that a predicted mortality rate for all applicable wildlife species in the project area to be used as a baseline in post-construction monitoring. So this gets to a concern that had been brought up at a previous work session, that the topic of the wildlife mortality was addressed in the post-construction monitoring, section D, where as once a project is permitted, there needs to be a follow-up study and report to assess the impact of the project, and if it's determined that the mortality rate of the endangered species exceeds that predicted rate, then mitigation efforts would be necessary for that facility to continue operating in that area. So it was overlooked that we didn't have a specific reference to that baseline mortality rate in the initial draft, and so that's why this section was added in B, just so it's clear that the initial plan, it's study what would the mortality rate be to the extent that it would not affect the long-term sustainability of that species. What threshold are we looking at there? And so that's why that was added. And then the subsection D basically gets at what I was just mentioning there, that the rate shall be minimal enough to not negatively impact the long-term sustainability. Section 6, we modified 6B. It's originally just said any especially sensitive environmental sites on private land. Again, somewhat subjective, so it's been modified to say that those sites have been identified in that area. And I think we would also want to add, Brian had a comment on this, that it would be a good idea to specifically state that those are identified by conservation agencies, DNR, county conservation, etc. And And then Conservation Board was added as a reference in section 6C, just to ensure that all three of those agencies are mentioned there as well. If their feedback suggests that they need to have some sort of mitigation strategy implemented. That's all I have for that particular section. So if you have any comments before we move on to... So section C is pretty much unchanged since the last work session. And we did modify the very last part, section C3 on page 45, where it just clarifying how this plan is to be approved. It had already stated that the board must approve it, but it's stated that in conjunction with the approval of a siting permit. So whether that's concurrently with or prior to, it just states that that is subject to approval at that time by the board once the recommendation is made by the Conservation Board. Section D is the last section of this this chapter that deals specifically with the post-construction monitoring and mitigation. So basically, what had already been listed in here is that the bird and bat populations would need to be monitored by a third-party professional for a minimum of 3 years following the completion of construction. So it already outlines the specifics of how that data is to be collected and presented to the board and to the general public. And so it already says that the mortality rate exceeds the predicted rate. There's a typo there. It said predicated. That was fixed. So if that mortality rate exceeds that predicted rate, which we previously discussed, then the owner or operator shall identify and implement specific strategies for mitigating the problem. It already listed several different strategies there, such as design modifications to the infrastructure, deterrent technologies that would prevent wildlife mortality, modifications to where the lighting is that could potentially attract the species to the site, monitoring litter and anything else that potentially attracts the species. We also already had a thing about temporary shutdowns of the equipment of a wind turbine or solar or whatever. But we also clarified this was a recommendation, the latest recommendation from Conservation, that the term feathering, specifically referring to the concept where the blades are rotated at an angle so that there's minimal rotational force when not in use. So that was added there as another example, and also that those shutdowns could be at particular times of day or specific times of year where it's and I think this would be particularly relevant for bats in terms of where they would be most likely to be active in that area. And then section D4, we added this to state that in the event that such mitigation strategies would need to be implemented, the owner shall consult with those same conservation entities at the county, state, and federal level prior to implementation. So it's not just we identify a strategy and we do it, we bring it forward to those entities first, just to make sure that there's an agreement on the use of what those strategies and whether they're appropriate for that particular project in the particular location. So the last page here, section 5, it already required that those mitigation strategies be presented to the board, and we need to continue following up on that until there's evidence that the issue has been resolved. And this kind of you can kind of infer this already, but just to make sure that it's clear, that we added the stipulation that the 3-year requirement for submitting that report must be extended in any instance where the documentation is necessary. So if we get to the end of the 3-year period and we're still having an observed issue here, then that would need to be extended until such time as that evidence has been presented that issue has been resolved. And Section 6 relates to longer term monitoring. The Conservation Board, their latest recommendation was that there was a concern that if it was just a 3-year monitoring period and then throughout the remainder of the project, there's no such monitoring in place, that potentially some issue could come up later that either was not identified initially or just had not taken place until a later date, maybe even 10, 15 years later. So they had recommended that that such monitoring reports be done on a 5-year basis throughout the operational lifespan of the project. So basically, for the first 3 years, it would be each year the report is submitted, and then once that period is ended, then it's every 5 years after that. They would conduct a similar study, and then to go along with that, if no issues were identified, it would just be every 5 years throughout the project. But subsection A specifically says that if the observed mortality rate exceeds the predicted rate, then it starts that same process where you would have to follow those procedures previously listed for implementing mitigation strategies at any point during the project. So that's where we're at with the latest draft. So, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't, I think it's good that we're gonna be working pretty heavy with the federal government on this. So I think that's good if we got them involved.
Yeah.
And I don't, if Shane doesn't, I've got one other thing to bring up that I spoke to you about a couple days ago. I'm just waiting until Shane's good. Any questions? What Jared's been through.
No, I didn't have a question, actually. It was just more of a, I still wasn't satisfied with the setback, but I mean, I can wait till we're finalizing before I.
Is this particularly for conservation?
No, that's what I'm saying. This
Okay.
has nothing to do, so I'll just wait on that.
We talked about on page 10, that K2, it all goes back to where, we don't want any experimental. Anyway, and it says, 2, in addition, the materials and design specifications shall all have been used for at least 2 CWES projects of 25 megawatts or greater within 250 miles of Des Moines County, which have been operational for at least 5 years at the time the siting permit application is submitted. We talked about this, and if you have 5 or older year old turbines, they don't have a lot of safety equipment, because we don't want experimental, but we want state-of-the-art turbines.
Right.
If you go back that far, it has to be, you're not gonna have the like the ISTRO sensors or monitoring or however they do that, or that AL, that lighting system.
Aircraft, yeah.
That stuff didn't exist that long ago. So, in Utah, I think you had some other language to put in there.
Right.
And have an engineering company go through there and the technologies used on those turbines, whether it would be proven or unproven, so we know we aren't getting experimental turbines, but we want them with the latest.
Right.
Anyway, do you have
okay.
And this is not in the wildlife, so this is just.
So I'm just going back to that original language you referenced there. I admit that initially when we came up with that was the concern was the previous statement in there said that the components shall be built using industry standard materials and no novel or experimental elements. And so the concern that was brought up is, how do you define that? Who decides what's experimental, novel, or not? And so we needed some sort of language to go as a basis for how we determine that. And so without any precedent from other ordinances, I was unable to find any specifics there. My thought was if we could put in some sort of geographical area that covers similar climate and the area of the country, Iowa and neighboring states, and then say approximately 5 years, that conceivably that would cover the reliability of the existing equipment. Well, in hindsight, that does not appear to be, there's the unintended consequence there that could, in addition to eliminating the experimental infrastructure, it could also remove some of that state-of-the-art stuff that's been tested reliably, but it just hasn't been in use on the ground for that long. And so, and in particular, because some of those older models, older than 5 years, typically don't have those features that that the board has cited that we would require, such as the fire suppression, lightning, and the aircraft detection. And so the language as revised would be, in order to confirm whether this would meet the requirement, a technological risk evaluation shall be conducted by a licensed third-party professional at the developer's expense, and then a report detailing the results of that evaluation shall be provided to the county and the general public. So essentially, it's similar to other components of evaluating this project, where rather than putting our own arbitrary standards in place as to what constitutes novel or experimental, there are companies, I've learned that there are companies out there that specialize in this particular type of evaluation, that can do that kind of assessment and provide the kind of information we need for determining that it's not the type of experimental facility like what was the situation in Mechanicsville.
I don't have it in front of me, but I think there was a bullet before that too about a certain standard.
Oh yeah, and that would remain.
And that would
remain.
So, if we wanna go that way as far as having a third party, several places throughout the ordinance, we have where there's third party expert that comes in to look, which is good, but we also have that it's paid for by the developer, but that the board has the right to choose to select who that outside.
Yeah, sure.
So we wanna have, I think you want some language like that.
No,
in there.
we would choose the
board's choosing.
the engineering, but
Yeah.
I don't think we wanna put something in there that says we're gonna require all this stuff, but to meet your other, you can't have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago, some of those, that lightning suppression systems didn't exist.
Talking about Mechanicsville, you mentioned that. I did hear, I haven't got any proof of what I heard, but I heard this from Evie, and the turbines like they had in Mechanicsville, the company is no longer gonna make them. And you can no longer buy them, so you don't have to worry about that. She gave me a call Saturday and told me that.
Well, they were experimental turbines anyway.
Yep.
Apparently the experiment failed.
Didn't work.
But no, I think that, and with the caveat that the board,
Yep.
board of supervisors makes the choice of the engineering
Yeah.
company to replace that one. But that's a little off where we were gonna talk about, but we had the discussion earlier or last week.
Let's move on then.
That's all I have prepared. I knew we were gonna discuss conservation specifically because that had come up.
I don't have any more.
I don't know.
Okay, that's it. Do we need one next week, or?
Well, I think the plan now is that we have guidance from going through each of the individual chapters, so we can work on finalizing an updated draft of the whole thing, present it to the board, and then you can just decide what the next step is, if we want to do another work session or
How long is it gonna take you to compile all this?
I'd say within the next week or two. Yeah,
You want 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's right.
it seems fair.
Yeah.
Everything else going on? So we'll plan on 2 weeks then, so there won't be another work session next week. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.